There's a painting in the lobby behind the desk that has to do with butterflies. And then also on one side is butterflies. And then the one side is butterflies, the other side, it depicts a sandstone wall relating to a cliff. And on that cliff are these pictographs. And they come in two panels, this painting comes in two panels. The butterflies represent, according to my mother and my grandmother, they told me years ago that they represent healing. And the village that I come from out at Hopi called Palaka, that is a word that means butterfly. There are some natural springs out there. We don't have rivers or streams of any sort, like, of that sort anyway, and we only have springs. So a lot of these places, many of these butterflies hover in that area. But if you look at the top of the painting, there is one, but all the butterflies actually are of Latin America, South America, Mexico, North America, up to Canada and up to Alaska, and then the east and west coast. But there is one butterfly there that is the Syrian butterfly, and it's at the top. I don't know, that's maybe a metaphor. It's by itself. And with the current situation that's going on in the world, especially in the Middle East, it's it's pretty much affecting globally. And the humanitarian crisis that's going on there. That part of the painting reflects a form of healing. And hopefully humanity will come together and heal itself. The other side of the painting, the pictographs, there's a large circle, and right in the center there's a square, and then there's a spiral inside that square. That circle, that sphere, represents the earth. Right in the center is what we call at Hopi, Sipahpu, center of the earth. That particular place for the Hopi is located down in the Grand Canyon. That's where we have the shrine for that. Now the spiral within inside that square opening is the migration symbol. We migrate out. According to Hopi mythology, we came from different. We went through different worlds. The first, second, third, fourth world. We are in the fourth world now, merging into the fifth world. So each world is a transition. That spiral also relates to how you come out of a kiva. If you go into the kiva, at Hopi you go to your right. As you're coming out, you go to your left, and then you go up the step ladder, and you leave the kiva. That also in the kiva, there is a hole which represents Sipahpu, the center of the world. Now, I put that spiral there just to indicate that once we merged into the fourth world, we began our migration. We began our migration, and this is pretty much universal. The migration of all people throughout the world. At one time, continents were connected. And so it gave people easy access to migrate from one place to another. Eventually, the continents separated. So we all have our locations, and we adapted to those places that we ended up at. So that's what that sphere represents. Now there's also another circle of dots at one end at the top and another one at the bottom. That represents, for me, that's my representation of winter and summer solstice sun. Then at the top, very top, there are these lines, these circles of lines. There's 6 of those lines. There's a line here, another line inside that, another line inside that, another one, and another one. The outer line represents the sun. The next line in represents the moon. And the next line in represents the water. And the next circle, or that line, represents the earth. And the final one, right at the top, is Sipapu, the center of the earth. And then at the bottom, another lower, let's see, midsection of that panel, there is a spiral in white, and it zigzags down, and then it turns black, and then reconnects with another spiral there in black. Now the top spiral, again, is the migration symbol. We migrated, the Hopi migrated, and the Pueblo people migrated throughout the Southwest, here and there. And then they abandoned those places and then continued moving on. And they just continued until they came to their final destination, which is where they live today. And at Hopi, it's where we are today. But those 2 spirals that connect, like that, another one at the bottom. What that represents also is opposites. It also represents winter, summer solstice, things that are opposite. But it also represents the past and the present or future. So in other words, the past is our future. The future is our past. We are not disconnected. The reason I say that is because many of our tribal elders and spiritual leaders, they do migrate. I mean, they do take a pilgrimage to many of these places far beyond the Hopi Reservation, where at one time our people used to have their villages, and we still have shrines there. So they make that pilgrimage. And we do have shrines throughout, beyond the Hopi Reservation in all different directions, and up to the mountains of San Francisco Peaks in Flagstaff, all the way down to the Grand Canyon, all the way up towards the north, east, and south, and west. So that's what that represents. And then there's another one that's round with a lot of little dots in it at the bottom. And that, I was telling some people the other night that, most farmers out at Hopi would plant in rows. Well, my great-great-grandfather, who was married to my great-grandfather was married to my great-grandmother, Annie. His name was Willie. Well, he used to plant his corn in a circle. So he was slightly different from the way the others planted. So I included him in there just to pay homage to him. And there's other symbols in there. There's a dot that's black up on top, and then there's a white dot with multicolors in there. That represents zenith and nadir, above and below. And also there's, in the center of that painting, I have 4 forms in there, 4 figures. And above their heads are these very faint colors. One color is yellow, red, white, and blue. Now those are the 4 Hopi cardinal directions. Yellow represents north, red south, west is blue, and white is east. And that center part of that painting, that is what I refer to as the intermediary between the physical world and the spiritual world. Those figures in there represent the cloud people. Cloud people, meaning that in Hopi belief, in Pueblo belief, is when you pass on, when you die, your spirit goes into the clouds and you become part of the clouds. So that during the ceremonies, you, the spirits and the ancestral spirits, or those that have gone before us, return through the singing and the chanting, or the chanting and the dancing and these particular ceremonies, and they return through the form of moisture, clouds, whether it be as rain or as snow. And that's all for the, for the good of the planet, to give moisture to not only plant life, but also animal and humanity.